His dad was horrified when he found out some other cops had beaten his homeless son to death. Now, Kelly wasn't homeless because his ex-cop dad had no home. Kelly just wouldn't stay at a home, either his mother's or his father's. They were divorced, but he wouldn't stay at either home. I talked to the mother, I talked to the father, interviewed him. You can see that on my YouTube channel. He wouldn't stay. He was schizophrenic. That was part of the problem. But here's how it started. Dispatch gets a call. The Fullerton Police Station dispatcher, hello? Hi, dispatcher. Hi, Fullerton Police here, caller. I have a creepy homeless guy that looks like Jesus. His name is Kelly, roaming the parking lot, looking in cars, pulling on handles, and again, by the train station in front of the slide bar. Dispatcher says, is that Dean Kelly? Caller, excuse me? Dispatcher, Dean Kelly? Is that who you're referring to? Caller, I don't know. I just know him as Kelly. Dispatcher, a transient? He's like redheaded. Years ago, he used to walk around with a hatchet. Whoa. He's being set up by someone that just wants him out of their neighborhood, out of their commercial area. Okay, the train station. What side of the train station is he on? Caller, directly in front of the slide bar next to the bus station. Is he at the bus depot, says dispatcher? Yeah, he's like pacing through the cars and between each car like he's on an obstacle course through the parking lot. That's what started. Okay, now the cops show up. And when they get there, Kelly is doing nothing. He's standing at the bus station, right where you wait for the bus. He's not going through any cars. Plus, I spoke to 2 witnesses that saw Kelly that night, and they said he wasn't going through any cars. He wasn't pulling on any handles. He was maybe looking at the ground here and there, but he didn't touch the cars. So now he ends up dead. Okay, now the cops screwed up, and we've done a show on that, and I'm not going to show you the ugly tape because it's really ugly. How they beat him and tasered him and crushed him till he couldn't breathe and even said, I can't breathe.
Broke his ribs.
They broke his ribs. They just kept him down, and they had already mashed his face, and they kept on mashing his face. Just smashing and mashing. You know, and I'm not going to show you all this ugly stuff. What my point is, now you can see on that tape what happens. The 2 cops get him down. They just beat the crap out of him. Then 2 or 3 more cops show up, and instead of saying, hey, buddy, wait, okay, you got him down, that's enough. You got handcuffed, okay, cool it. You guys have gone overboard. Instead of saying, stop beating this man to death, the cops just let him do it. Now comes the district attorney of Orange County, a slime bag if ever I saw one. He's the one that sent his little sharks to get Julie Witherspoon, and because I put my camera in the courtroom, the judge was forced to be fair, and she was found not guilty of anything. And then she left the country and never came back. She gave up fighting for her kids because every time she went to court, they would beat her up. They would take her papers, throw them on the side. They wouldn't give her justice. And she originally hired a bar-certified attorney. But I'm not going to go into it. I also have him on tape for about 2 or 3 hours. But I'm not going into that. My point is, if we had real people as district attorneys instead of reptiles, like what's his name down there in Orange?
Rackauckus.
Rackauckus. Thank you, Dan.
Tony Rackauckus.
Tony Rackauckus, the guy that covered up the murder of Linda Cater's only daughter, murdered at about age 22, I think. And I have covered that, and there's YouTube clips, and then the coroner's office covers it up. And maybe I will give you a little bit of the tape tonight where I interviewed the forensic pathologist, who now has changed his mind. But I got him on tape saying that girl was murdered. And he explains in great detail how he knows her mouth was held shut. They shoved cocaine up her nose while they raped her, spread eagle, on the bed. And that snuff film was seen by a witness I later accidentally interviewed, not realizing that she actually knew something about Linda Cater's daughter. Unfortunately, I didn't get her on tape properly, and it's unfortunate because justice has never been done for Linda Cater because of Tony Rackauckus. And I said, and I was the only person saying, in fact, we had Sheriff Jim Anderson sitting here in the studio one day, and right before we went live, I said, Jim, you know Sheriff Mike Corona? Because there's only 58 counties here, right, Dan? In this whole state. And all the sheriffs know each other.
Yeah, they have to.
They all know each other.
Go to golf tournaments.
They go to golf tournaments.
Yeah.
They belong to the Sheriff's Association of California. And Mike Corona ran the 7th largest army in the United States, the Orange County Sheriff's Department. And he was corrupt. There were complaints, if I remember, tell me if I'm wrong, that his senior deputies testified at Orange County grand jury that they had to have sex with Mike Corona in order for their husband to get and hold a senior deputy position? Or am I misremembering something? He was corrupt. And I was the first person to say so. And I got Sheriff Jim Anderson sitting here in the studio at the time and said, you know, Jim, your buddy Mike Corona, you know him? He said, oh, yeah, I know him. And he says, he's going to go down. And Jim Anderson looked at me, oh? Oh? I said, yeah, he's a dirty sheriff, and he's going down, okay? At the time, he was a big shot on commercial television. I think it was, I forget now it's called reality TV or something. I think it was called True TV. And he was the voice you'd hear about the crime they're getting in Orange County, and they're getting the bad dudes. Bad boy, what you gonna do when they come, you know? And you'd hear the voice of Mike Corona in the background. That's the guy. He was getting paid as sheriff. He's getting paid to be on True TV or whatever that show was called. I might got the name wrong.
Sounds right.
He's getting paid. And he was dirtier than most of the sheriffs in most of the counties. Well, he's sitting in Club Fed right now getting paid by your tax dollars. I think he finally got sentenced to 60 months in Club Fed, and you have to serve 80% of your time in Club Fed. He should be getting out soon. I heard they were pulling strings to get him out a little bit early. Yeah. Well, if I was a judge and not a member of the bar, I'd say he ain't getting out early. We're going to bring these other 108 charges that he didn't get tried for, and we're going to try him on each one of those 108 other counts, and he'll spend the rest of his life in some kind of prison, state or federal. But no, because we have bar members and the courts are completely corrupt, and this blew my mind. Even after he was convicted. Now he's convicted, and that Orange County federal judge let him walk out of the courtroom until his appeal is done being heard. Hello? When did any of you ever get tried for something, convicted, and then the judge says, okay, now we'll just let you walk around, go to your son's high school graduation, and go golfing and relax and just sort of have a nice time because we don't want to put you in jail unnecessarily.
Yeah, doesn't happen.
No, that's not the way it happens. But on this television show, I'm going to tell you the truth. Mike Corona went down. Not because I said so, but maybe because I started the ball rolling. And I said it on this show. Mike Corona is a dirty cop, and he's sitting in federal prison today. Amen. And he should be in federal prison and then in state prison, and they can move him back for federal charges and then state charges and then federal charges. I mean, to tell a woman, you're going to have sex with me, or I won't let your husband be a senior deputy sheriff on the Orange County Police Department.
Wow.
Where are you Christians out there? Do we have to bring in the Islamic Jihad? Because they know how to chop off heads. If this had happened in an Islamic country, where you had gone and said, well, your wife's going to have sex with me, all 4 of your wives are going to have sex with me, because Islamics can have 4 wives legally. There wouldn't be jail. It'd be off with his head. They'd bring out the Quran and make him stare at the Quran and chop his head off, and they'd videotape it and put it on YouTube. And you can find tapes where they have cut people's heads off. But in America, we've got the Bar Association. Well, things are not what they appear. You may have noticed, and this is my main story tonight, there was a little flap between some of the Michael Jackson's siblings. And they played it up on the news, and they played it up on the news. And I didn't want to say anything. And people are emailing me and personal messaging me and say, Wagner, why aren't you going to say something? Say something. And you know, this is my words. I called Tom Mesereau. And I said, Tom, can you call Randy Jackson or Jermaine Jackson or Catherine? Can you talk to one of them? And he did. He went on Showbiz Tonight, and he basically said what I'm going to say. This is the Jackson family business. They've lived their whole life in a pressure cooker, in a fishbowl, trying to be superstars, and at least Michael and Janet are. Janet's worth probably $50 million or more. The Jackson Five, the other brothers, didn't do so well once Michael left, but they've lived their whole life in a fishbowl. I don't want to tell them how their family should be run or get involved in their family business. And play this. Mesereau said this. We can use this under fair use for a few seconds.
It could only be family members, the sheriff's department, or the media somehow sneaked in and got a hold of this. I don't know what happened. Okay. Somebody wanted to publicize this, somebody wanted to make a big issue out of it, and I honestly don't know who did it.
Okay, yeah, well, it was released from a Jackson family member, but listen, we know that Michael, Tom, was known to be worried about someone being out to get him. We know that Michael trusted his mother with his children, but did you get the sense that he trusted his siblings, or was there some mistrust there?
Well, Michael was very protective of his children at all times. He was a dedicated, devoted, loving father. He wanted them protected. He wanted them to grow up educated, well-read, well-traveled, well-balanced. He wanted them to understand the pressures of the media, being a Jackson. And I never saw him say or do anything that suggested he didn't want his siblings around his children. Never. You know, Michael was a family person. As I said before, all families have differences. And when you have fame and fortune involved, things get exaggerated repeatedly. But Michael never said anything to me that suggested he didn't want his siblings around his children. Never.
Well, obviously you can't know for sure, but you obviously know the family well. With that inside knowledge, how do you see this drama getting resolved, Tom?
I'm hoping it gets resolved very quickly. I understand Catherine's returning. I hope her health is okay. You know, she's 82 with a lot of responsibilities. She's a loving, kind person. Hopefully, if she's having any physical or any other type.
Well, there's Tom Mesereau, and I'm glad he was able to do something. He was able to get something said, get something on the air. And I agree with him. You know, this family has been tortured. Michael's trial went on for like, what, 2 years, from 03 to 05. And there was allegations back in 93 or 92, and they were all false, and they were all proven to be false because the rotten to the core, like Krabby Appleton of the old cartoon series. Remember Krabby Appleton, Dan?
It went on for 20 years, really.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson's thing went on for 20 years.
Yeah, it went on for 20 years. They kept trying to nail this man, and he loved children in a good way. He wanted them to thrive. He wanted them to have vacation days just to spend time with their own parents and have fun. Anyway, what has come to now, you may have noticed that 1 or 2 days a week you go to the courthouse to file something, and the clerk's door is shut and locked. The normal hours have been shortened. What are they doing that for? Well, according to a lawsuit I'm going to tell you about just shortly, millions of the state of California court money is being taken out of California and put in a private account. Is that true? In Switzerland? In a private, secret, hidden Swiss account? Well, I spoke to 2 people. Both of them are attorneys, or were attorneys. And when they found out this information, they brought a lawsuit. They have both since been disbarred by our crooked court system.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought? Who would have thought they'd get disbarred for doing the right thing, exposing corruption in our court system? And if the termites that have eaten through what was once solid oak of our court system, if the termites ever let go of hands, the whole system would collapse.